Well, hello there. Welcome to the 2013 prospecting show. Before we get started, I figured we'd get a few things out of the way. First off is there's no hype or drama or BS out here. I figure a guy should be able to meet challenges head on and enjoy overcoming them. The second thing is this show is not entirely about gold itself. It's about the adventure, being out here in the wilderness, all the sights and the sounds, and a little bit of gold at the end of the day. As you can see, we're in the middle of fall right now, and you guys have some catching up to do. And as for me, I really need to get busy, so I hope you enjoy the show. The frozen north is a beautiful yet dangerous place. Snowshoes is how one makes his way. Making way through the frozen forests and across the waterways. With camp opened up, one spends the day underground in a half-frozen hole, digging the day away through the long winter nights. In town the other day, heard something was about to change. That'll surely bring me out of this frozen hole. No more sitting behind closed doors anymore, as this forest is about to make a move. Well, that last day of winter blew cold and hard, but sitting behind glass and looking across this great land and watching winter's last stand. The night was calm and cold, as I think winter knew the sun would push its way through a little more each day. It may be spring, but up north we still have a ways to go. One can only sit back and watch the melt begin. With each day becoming warmer, we start to notice subtle changes, like the rabbits going from their snow-white coats to blending back in with the forest floors. With every passing day, more and more birds show up on the scene and take full advantage of that melting snow. First, the large waterways begin to open up, and the waterfowl make their way back. From the lone herring trying to hide from me, to ducks sitting on the river's edge, to the deer hitting the sunny slopes and grabbing the first new shoots of the season, things are really beginning to look up. The valleys begin to open, and the snow is pushing its way back. Every season always begins with me and Josh hitting these old glacial deposits in search for agates. This glacial deposit came from hundreds of miles around, bringing with it agates and other semi-precious stones. These slides can be dangerous and a little dusty at times, but the agates bring us back every season, and you might want to watch out for this young fella. Always a great way to begin the season, finding a few agates. Standing up high, looking out, one sure can see how the river below carved this valley out. Staring into them hills and across the valley floors, one thinks maybe, and then winter comes back to pay you one last visit and remind you not to waste a single day. The sun pushes back and spring is well on its way. Spring has to be my favorite season. Walking through the forest floors, still covered partially by snow, watching everything come back to life. From plants forcing their way through the ground, to an inchworm still surrounded by snow, catching the first bits of light. After a long hard winter, spring is great because one feels he has a new lease on life and gets to watch everything all over again. While enjoying the warm day and walking around, just taking in all the sights. Walking along and coming up to an old birch tree, and suddenly a squirrel became very angry with me. Looking around, I noticed sap dripping from this birch tree, full of sugars and minerals, and I'm more than sure this is why he became so upset with me. Looking closer, I thought I could see something moving in the wind. There was butterflies all across this birch tree. I've always wondered why in the early spring one would see butterflies flying around with nothing on the ground for them to have. Now I understand another one of nature's little secrets. The paper birch was always an important tree to the first people to walk this land, and obviously a very important part of nature as well. Everything in the lower valleys are coming along quite nicely. The leaves on the trees are slowly starting to bud to the first signs of the mighty bee. Everything in nature has always interested me. Walking along and happening upon a young fox, which looks a little concerned to me, so I sit back and watch. Soon enough, you see her reason for concern. She's a young mother fox with her first pup. The best part of spring is to witness the new wildlife. Even though the young can be a little too trusting, soon mother puts her pup back in the den and sits back and watches to make sure everything is okay. Well, I'm not sure if it was watching that young mother fox or the feeling that spring gives you, but I decided to get myself a new pup for this prospecting season. So, meet Brutus, my newest prospecting partner. You can tell he's going to be a good dog, the way he follows me and watches me with his eyes. He plays quite well with my husky Kia. Cooper, on the other hand, seems to be a little put out. The Kia watches over Brutus as he plays and enjoys the warm sunny day. My Malamute Cooper would rather just steal baby toys and seemed to have taken it out on this one in particular. But Brutus really don't seem to care, as he's just too busy checking everything out around him. Well, it's time for me to head into the hills and check in on my claims. Driving down the highway, it's always a great time to watch out for bear and their young, as they always seem to drop into the lower valleys, into the farm fields, and along the large riverways. I'm far enough away that she can't see me as long as I don't move, but a bear's smell is one powerful thing, and right away she starts feeling a little uncomfortable and pushes her young back into the bush. The lower roads are opened up quite nicely. One always watches out for wildlife, like this large bull moose, or a small grouse sitting along the side of the road, picking up stones and anything else. These lower roads sure are doing great, but as one makes his way through the forest, things get a little bit messy. With the warmer days, one needs to be careful, as the way in may not be there on your way out. Spring watersheds can be good for prospecting and insight to what's up along them hills. Well, it's time to hike in, down the hill, through the valley to the claim. It's always an interesting time, the first time in, as you just never know what you're gonna see. Coming up upon the cabin, and it's still standing. What a great sight to see. Sure is a great feeling to be back out on the claim, and I'm sure all the animals know we're back in the area. It's always great to pull a heavy pack off your back. After a long winter, we'll let Joshua open up this cabin door, as you just never know what you'll see. And that's where the bear tried coming in.
Yep.
See his claw marks?
Oh, no. Oh. Just looked like a black bear, eh?
Yeah, he's just a small bear.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to fix that up. What's that?
Paw looked like it went through.
Wow. Right above my small black bear. Nothing in here for him, that's why I don't leave food around. It's the first time they've done this. Rip the gas lid off and they try to drink that gasoline. It must be a pretty small bear, because he didn't do much damage. Well, at least he left the gas lid. Last bear that took my gas lid, it took me half a day to find it. Well, he managed to snag my headlamp. I was hanging up there. Yeah, they sure can be problematic. But now I'm back in the area. We should push on. Time to get some chores out of the way for this prospecting season. First on the list is to split wood and create a good stockpile. A nicely seasoned spruce always makes for a good campfire. We'll let Josh stack the firewood. I'm gonna empty everything out of this cabin and let everything air out. Then we'll give it a good cleaning to make sure there's no spiders hanging about. We'll get all these chores out of the way and we'll get ready for this season. This year, I don't plan on spending a lot of time in any one particular area. I'm going to do a lot of hit and runs, just open up the spot, check out the layers, and find a trace of gold, put the X on the map, and move to a new location. I really want to speed things up this year to get a really good view into everything across this claim. Well, today's chores are out of the way. The camp is looking good. So let's go down we'll check on some old sites.
Yeah, a little bit of meltwater.
The what? Oh.
A little meltwater coming through still. I'll dry up.
Well, our chores are out of the way, and I promised Josh we'd head down and do a little panning for the rest of the day. With the river so high, you're a little limited to the places you can go, but it's also a great time to look at the water flow in the low pressure zones for future prospecting. There's something to be said for just sitting along the water's edge and enjoying the rest of the day. Always enjoy a bit of gold panning, but looking downriver, you can see the inside corner and how that slack water would make a perfect dropout zone for all the golds and the heavy minerals to settle out in. Upriver is a straight section of very turbulent water, which tends to push everything downstream to the next dropout zone. These inside bends are the best places for a prospector to begin looking for heavy minerals. Another good place is behind large rocks and heavy water flow. They also create a perfect dropout zone. Also look for areas where the river is narrow and then widens out. Another good area for gold to drop out. Well, we'll do a few more pans, and then we'll pack up and begin the long hike out. It's always nice to find a little bit of gold in the beginning of the season. Checking in on another sampling site, finding a small gardener snake down in the bottom of the hole. A lot of people really don't care for snakes, but they're a vital part of everything out here. And for something that doesn't have any legs, sure is a good climber. He thinks he's leaving danger, but he doesn't realize he's heading right in to the boy.
Whoa.
Give him a kiss.
I'm good. Whoa. And he's off.
And he's off and running. Oh, an old camp stove. An old pot. You know what that is? You put that under your bed in the middle of the night if you had to go pee. No. That's neat, old camp stove and old pot all the way out here.
Making our way out and on top of the hill, staring across the valley, watching a small hawk. Got thinking maybe it's time to teach the boy a little more about surviving out here.
Okay, go ahead.
A little bit of a kick, but the smile says it all. We head out for the day, and we spend the night thinking about the season to come. Packing up our gear and getting ready to spend a few days out. This time, we're going to bring our new partner out, Brutus. Slowly making our way out as these roads are really beginning to open up with the melt in full swing. Coming around the corner, we run into a grouse, a little puffed up, and I think searching for a bit of love. Of course, Brutus really don't seem to care and wants to get on out of here. There's a small hen sitting up in the willow trees, checking out that male grouse. Well, he must have been doing something right, because she came down to pay him a visit. It's time for us to get on out of here.
Well, hello there. We're down here in early spring, cleaning up camp and fixing things up, getting ready for this season. I'm out here with my son Joshua, and we got a new prospecting partner with us, Brutus. He's just a young fella so far, but he seems to be working out pretty good. But he'll be my new bush dog, so I'm going to train him from a young pup all this season, and by the time we're done, he should be a pretty good bush dog. But we should really get busy here, get our projects done, and get a little panning in before the day's done.
Well, we'll air things out a little more, as these sleeping bags still have a bit of a musty smell to them.
Airing out the sleeping bags, getting rid of any spiders or unwanted critters. These little beetles really seem to like the sleeping bag here. Now we'll have to make sure we give them a good shaking off before we put them in for our bedding. Like these beetles are really liking the sleeping bag. It's become like a local pub for hooking up. I don't know how sanitary that is, doing all these things on my sleeping bag like that. Well, it looks like they're having a good time, so we'll just leave them alone till bedtime. Oh, I'm going to take this old tarp, use this here in the fall time to keep the moisture and the rain out. So when it got cold, the gravel didn't freeze up on me. But now we shouldn't have to worry about freeze up anymore. So I'm going to utilize this tarp. I'm going to use it on the old shack, put a new roof on it. A little darker color so it's not so easy to see. Yeah, it served its purpose. Oh yeah, too many knots. Just as easy to cut it. Perfect. Now I just got to figure out if I want to use the green or the brown side. I guess the guy should probably use the brown by the looks of that.
Well, I really hope I don't have to do this every season, but I guess that's just a part of bush life out here. One has to deal with things as they come.
Alright, we got the new roof on. Blends into the bush a lot nicer, a lot harder to spot. And took care of the holes, keep them mosquitoes out. Well, I got them to clean up that site in behind me. Get that last little bit of overburden off the top there. And pull a few sample pans. Oh, there's gold in there. Oh, just a nice way to finish the day. Do a couple pans, get a little showing of gold. Keep these young guys here busy. Well, I'll finish my coffee. I should maybe look at putting some tin plates or something along the side there to keep them black bears from getting too curious. On one hand it might deter the bears, but on the other hand it might attract other things, unwanted visitors.
Smell the gold?
You see these layers in here? It's like a clay, sandy material, another gravel seam, another clay sand, another seam, another clay sand.
This season, we're going to spend a little more time with Joshua and instructing him on the lay of the land and the layers around and how to take proper samples. The only trouble with a project like this is his attention span is still a little lacking. But I just keep on talking anyway, and even if he picks up a little bit at a time, over time, he'll start to get a better idea of what we're doing out here.
You should take samples from here, and here, and here, and here, and then down here.
Down there, I took a little bit and I found some, like 3-4 little pieces of gold.
We'll take a sample out of here, see if there's any color. Beauties. Oh, what's that? Yeah, material that's been sitting around, like silty clay, sand, gravel mix on a hillside like this for who knows how long. It's always good to give it a good scrub. Release any gold samples out of these layers here and determine if there's any value in it, if it's worthwhile. Oh, what's going on, big guy? I should have a bigger bucket here. A little hard. Hey, Bruce, it's gonna get all wet and muddy. Yeah, you can see one little piece of flour gold in there. And this is why I guide is the sampling, so then you'll know what's in that layer. And you know it's definitely not worthwhile processing, that's for sure. So then we'll go chase down the layer down below this one and see if we can get a show of gold. That's what sampling's all about. Know where the gold is and where it isn't before we really spend a lot of money at this.
He's a man of the backcountry wild. He He's a man with a backcountry style, searching for treasure yet untold, up and down the creeks for his gold. And it's mine or bust, mine or bust, mine or bust, because it's in his blood and that's what a miner does. Just like the gold rushers of old, who live and died for their gold, with picks, packs, shovels, rifles in hand, up and down the creeks of the backcountry land. It's mine or bust, mine or bust, because it's in his blood and that's what a miner does.
Really?